Good evening. Welcome to the City Council meeting of Wednesday, February 17th, 2016. Can I have the roll call, please?
Dan Carey.
Present.
Peg Coniff. Salem Derby.
Present.
Jennifer Hayes.
Here.
JP Kuzinski.
Here.
Joe McCoy.
Here.
Dan Rist.
Here.
Tamara Smith.
Here.
Joy Winnie.
Here.
Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could I please have a motion for the approval
So
of
moved.
minutes?
Second.
A motion, a second, approval of the minutes of February 3rd. Any additional questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Public speak time. If there's anyone here from the public who would like to address the council for something other than that's on the public hearings, do we have none tonight? Please come forward. Nothing seen. Communications from elected official boards and committees. Did you want to mention the retirement board? Cass?
Again, it is next in correspondence.
Yeah.
So we did get a letter from the East Hampton Retirement Board thanking us for our patience and tenacity as we went through the explanations, laws, rules, and regulations involved in issues around the stipend. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of their thank you letter.
Okay. Mayor Communications, Mayor Cadger.
Good evening. Barbara, did you pass out the additional information? So I just wanted to provide the counselors with a little information regarding the kennel donation account. And I know that we were talking about it in Finance Subcommittee. So, but I just figured that we would provide it to the entire board tonight so you would have it. And I'm assuming we'll continue discussions in Finance Subcommittee. Thank you.
Any additional questions for the mayor? Or something?
Sure. Can you describe a little bit what you did with the community compact with the legislation? We didn't really hear anything
Sure. The
about
Community
that.
Compact is one of the first initiatives that the governor and the lieutenant governor took on hand. And what it is they have encouraged, since the governor took office, to all communities to sign a community compact, which is a community's commitment. Cities and towns make a commitment, but also the Commonwealth, the governor's office also makes a commitment to the cities and towns. And our commitment is for best practices, and the governor provided the cities and towns with a choice of 7 different categories that you could commit to. So, and you could choose up to 3. So we chose 3 best practices that the city is working on and achieving and can commit to. And what it does in essence is as you are signed in, which it takes a while, the draft is provided to the governor's office and was provided quite a while. And then they get to doing each cities and towns, and they do them in groups. They did Hampden County a few months ago. And what they also, what the benefit is well, it's a commitment between, state and local authority, but it also provides for upcoming grants, technical assistance. You're also provided with bonus points if you do, sign the community compact. And like I said, it was one of the governor's first initiatives when he took office, and the lieutenant governor went around to every city and town promoting that at the very first year of their term.
So there were a lot of different categories, and a lot of other towns and cities, they actually had public forums where they got public input on what categories they were going to go with. How did you come to the decision to pick the 3 that you did? Because there were some really interesting ones that I think might have dovetailed kind of nicely with some of the technology things we're thinking about doing.
Right. Well, what we did is we picked what best benefited East Hampton, things that we're working on, things that we can commit to. Regionalization is something that we have been working on, and there were only 7 categories, and you could pick up to 3. So we picked that, which is something that, obviously shared services is things that, all the communities are looking toward to, and sharing not only services, but sharing expenses. I'm sure you know, we have a Veterans Council, which we share our veterans agent presently with Granby, South Hadley, and East Hampton. It works extremely well. We also, as you've seen last budget, have regionalized for animal control services through the city of Westfield. So that's something that we've been working on. A lot of talk about different inspection services regionalizing, but also maybe even the state would come up with inspection services, not just locally, not just cities and towns that match your size and your needs. We've also talked about regionalizing dispatch over the last couple of years. So a lot of these things have been, up for discussion many times. The school has been working on, early educational best practices, and so education was what they chose. And the other one fits nicely into us as far as economic development, and it's based on the pressures put on the city's budgets by obviously lack of state funding, and how to be economically competitive, how to maintain business, attract new businesses, and so those were the three we chose.
Did you solicit any information, any input from the public at all
What we
on
did,
choosing?
excuse me?
Did you solicit any input from the public on what choices you made with this compact? with the
What we did
legislation?
here is we met with all the city offices, the planning department. Also, public meetings were held by Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, which we attended, and to explain this and go over it. And also, they offer their services to provide the compact choices. So there were many public meetings on this. That were provided that anybody is welcome to. But what we did, after attending, several of them, attending the different public meetings, we chose what was right for our city based on our planning department, our, building services, and our school department. And a lot of this input, what happens is you draft the categories that you want, and it goes to the governor's office, and they go over it in detail and assist the cities and towns with it. This is technical assistance through the governor's office.
Okay.
Any other
Councilor
questions?
Derby?
I just have a quick question. I was hoping to find out if you've heard anything about the overquota licenses, and if not, if maybe we know a time frame, and are we going to have to send somebody to represent us?
We definitely have to send somebody to represent us on the floor, and we haven't heard any updates. And I was just talking to Representative Syback last Friday that obviously as much notice as possible when it gets to that point, so that we can, decide if the councilors want to go or whoever would want to go to represent that initiative.
Sounds good.
Councilor Derby, you're ready
Can
for the
I
trip?
bring us a little out? When Senator Humison was here for office hours a couple weeks ago, I actually asked him the exact same thing. And he called his office and he looked into it and he didn't really know. He did say that definitely somebody would have to go to speak on behalf. Okay. And I think I mentioned that to Joe already.
And I'm sure the councilors know with the last legislative over quotas that you put through, the councilors didn't have to go, but the applicants did.
Right.
So this way it would be us.
It will be us.
So
It
as
would
soon
be
as we
us.
hear anything.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Okay, I guess that's it. Thank you. We can move on then to standing committees, Rules and Government Relations, Councilor Rist.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. We did meet last week and moved 3-0 to recommend the electronic agendas be distributed. And I'd like to personally thank our clerk, Barbara LeBombard, who made an effort to provide not only electronic distribution, but also printed copies to those counselors that want them. The clerk will distribute all meeting items, agendas, and pertinent information, which is the council packet, electronically through email. The clerk will also print all items and distribute in mailboxes, until which time as counselors opt out of receiving printed versions. And she'd like you to do this in writing, so email or give her a note. Decision to opt out should be made by May 1st. The clerk will also electronically distribute any late arriving items for a particular meeting, as well as printed versions such as the donation account, which we received this evening. All council items for any meeting will be published on the city website, excluding personal information provided by mayoral or council nominees to boards or committees. We felt, and the mayor felt, that we should not give out that kind of personal information on the website until which time is they're nominated. All of our candidates for boards and committees do know that they are public officials once they're there. but we didn't feel comfortable putting all that information. The counselors still get all that information. No rule change is needed for this because we already have a rule that says agendas will be distributed. How they're distributed is what we're recommending this evening. Something else to say, this represents an enhancement of transparency, as stated eloquently by Councilor Coniff at our meeting. Now agendas and council items will be more conveniently distributed and made available to the public through the website. This action is now possible because the city's technology and staffing can allow it. Indeed, the mayor has undertaken considerable expenditure in taxpayer funds to improve the city's website. Let me be clear, however, the suggestion or implication through the tone of editorials or questioning of late that the mayor's office or any member of her administration or the city council has something to hide in delaying the implementation of electronic access to information is quite frankly wrong and does a great disservice to the public's faith and trust in government. Indeed, I feel that the mayor, department heads, councilors, and the city clerk have always been available to the public as well as have any and all documents and information pertaining to city business other than confidential personnel items. Our government has always been transparent and now will even be more so. I will entertain questions before I read a motion. None?
I just had actually a couple, you may have said it, but that information, again, for freedom of information, that information for telephone numbers, obviously that is still public. It can still be retrieved through the city clerk, but we just chose not to put it on the website at this time. And also, if you know right now that you want to opt out of paper, that isn't, you don't have to wait till March 1st.
May 1st.
May 1st.
Yeah.
To make that decision. If you know right now, I just want electronic, that may be clear, I wasn't sure, but you can just tell Barb as well.
No, that's true. That's good. I move that the City Council authorize electronic transmission of agendas and related packet information in addition to paper copies, and further, if a councilor no longer requires paper copies of the agenda, they should notify the council clerk in writing no later than May 1st, 2016.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve the electronic agenda distribution. Any additional questions or comments? None being said, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
I think that will be excellent for us all. Secondly, I wanted to remind all chairs of committees that we're waiting on a delivery of mission statements for the committees to be added to the rules.
Do you have a deadline for that?
I would rather not set a deadline as soon as you can. I know committees have lots of things on their agenda. Yes?
Speaking of committees having things on their agenda, should we formally ask for this to be put on our agenda? Do we need to do that so it's
No,
advertised?
the Rules Committee is asking the chairs of every committee. I don't think you...
So if we talk about it in our committee meeting, we should be okay?
Yeah, because you're talking about mission statements. You're not talking about an item that needs action by the council. We're just going to add it to the rules,
Just want to make sure.
in my opinion, anyway. That concludes Rules and Government Relations.
Okay, thank you. You know, I have not moved the order yet, so unfortunately, we're back to Finance, Counselor
You
Rist.
can keep it that way.
Okay.
I asked the president, because I do a lot of talking, but you guys are used to me, I hope. I would like to first say that the committee met last week, and we talked about the donation account and the Hayden Animal Trust Fund, and we decided that it would be better, given the mayor can enhance on this statement, given that the original donation was made by the school children, is that right?
Yep.
And it was specific to dogs, that we couldn't put it in an animal trust fund and then try to write something complicated that said this money could only be used for dogs and the rest of the money can be used for other animals. So we chose to simply change the nature of the donation account, or establish a donation account, which is why you have that in front of you this evening. And the mayor will provide us new language for the Hayden Animal Trust Fund, which needs to be updated because it has things like the selectmen in it and older language. So we discussed that, and I would just like to move that the approval to amend the donation account for the kennel donation account be sent to committee for review.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second to move the request for the amend the kennel donation account be sent to Finance. Additional questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
I would like to set a public hearing in these chambers at 6:15 at our next meeting on March 2nd, I believe it is, for the $6,500 interdepartmental transfer and for the supplemental appropriation of $25,602.88. That we have a public hearing for that on that date.
Okay.
That's a motion.
Second. Okay, so there's a motion, a second, to set a public hearing on the interdepartmental transfer of $6,500 and the supplemental appropriation of $25,600 to 88. And I forgot to write down the date of our next meeting.
March 2nd.
Yeah, March 2nd, 6:15 PM in these chambers. Additional questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
Mr. President, I think I'll just do the other items of
Yeah,
new
we can move,
business, if
so,
that's
yeah,
okay.
that's fine.
I'd like to do for a first reading, an interdepartmental transfer has been requested, amount of $8,157.24 to be transferred from the reserve fund, $8,157.24, to be transferred to the fire department prior year vacation payout. Secondly, for another first reading, an amount requested of $650 has been requested, an interdepartmental transfer to be transferred from the reserve fund, $650, to be transferred to the planning board personnel services, $650, to provide funds for clerical services for an unforeseen increase in planning board meetings. I would like to move that both of these items be sent to the finance committee for review.
Second.
Okay, a motion, a second, to move to finance both interdepartmental transfers of $650 and $8,157.24 to finance. Additional comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
Lastly, I submitted to the council a request that the Finance Committee review all stipends for elected officials, boards, and committees as required by the Charter, Section 2.4. I was remiss in not asking for this earlier. We have a year to review these. And before I send it to committee, I'd like to remind the councilors that we did debate, in particular, council salaries last time, but we chose to increase the mayor's salary. This was 2 years ago, for those of you that were on the council when we did that. So if you're interested in this debate and discussion about council salaries, I will let you know when we're going to have that. We're going to try and collect a lot of information on other cities and towns that we've had before. I'd like to move that this be sent to Finance Committee for review.
Second.
Okay, a motion, a second to send to finance the discussion concerning salary review of city council, and actually the mayor is under that too, isn't it?
Yeah, all elected
Yeah,
officials.
Additional questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion
That
passes.
concludes, Mr. Tardy.
Okay, thank you very much. Appointments, Counselor Smith.
Public safety.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Counselor Hayes, I didn't see that. I'm going back and forth between my electronic and my paper, it's driving me crazy.
Floor meeting. Our public safety meeting is being held tomorrow at 5. That's in conference room 1 on the first floor. We've promised to be done in less than 45 minutes. I'd like to request a 90-day extension for the review of the street acceptance protocol.
Okay, there's a motion, a second.
In the form of motion.
Okay, for a 90-day extension for the street acceptance protocol. Any questions, Counselor Rist?
I'm a little concerned, and it's not just the Public Safety Committee, but I noticed there's a number of items that have been on our agenda for over a year. I hope we can move on these. It doesn't look good, people, that we have long, the reason these dates were put in was to remind us that they've been on our agenda for a year. So I'd ask that the chairs try to move these along. Thank you.
Doing my very best,
I'm
Counselor.
sure you are.
Chris.
Any other
I would
questions?
also like-
I think I need to take a vote on that.
Yes,
first.
I do.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
And the Paul Street extension, I would like to be very ambitious and set a public hearing for our next meeting on that, because we're discussing it tomorrow, and I think we'll be able to get caught up after the subcommittee meeting and then do a public hearing on the Paul Street extension.
Okay, so make a motion for
Second.
public hearing for the Paul Street extension. There's a second on that too. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
And we have an ongoing discussion about allowing on-street parking in the section of Pleasant Street. Barb's been very helpful in what the next steps would be as far as helping facilitate that for the mill owners.
Does that conclude?
Yeah, this concludes.
Okay, thank you. Appointments, Counselor Smith.
Okay, thank you. We met today as a committee at 5:30 to discuss 2 mayoral appointments. The first one is for Teresa Maria Lorenko, and she is going for the Agricultural Commission with a term expiration of 12/31/18. and I wanted to open the floor for discussion on this before I make a motion to, sorry, I'm still getting used to this format. Making a motion to accept Teresa Maria Lorenco to the appointment on the Agricultural Commission.
Second.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So we have a motion, a second, for the appointment of Teresa Maria Lorenco to the Agricultural Commission. Any additional questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
Okay, and the second name that I would like to move forward to the full council in a manner of a motion is Brian Dupuy for the Veterans Council with a term expiration of 12/31/17.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, for Brian to be the Veterans Council. Any additional questions or comments?
Was there a recommendation?
Oh,
did I miss it?
we unanimously decided to recommend both of these appointees.
Both, yeah, both.
Thank you.
And I know Council Whitney brought up that Mr. Dupuy had 23 or 25 years of service as a Marine. So certainly, it seems like a good,
Seems like he's
a good
qualified.
fit for the Veterans Council. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
Okay, and with new business tonight, I have 5 mayoral appointments to move to subcommittee. I'm sorry, 3 mayoral appointments and 2 city council appointments to move to subcommittee. So I'll start with the 3 mayoral appointments. We have Catherine Hobbs for the Manhan Rail Trail Committee with a term expiration of 12/31/18. Tricia Rogers to the Board of Health with a term expiration of 12/31/17. And John Casey Douglas for Economic Development and Industrial Committee with a term expiration of 12/31/18.
Second. Okay, motion, a second, to move those 3 mayoral appointments to the Appointment Subcommittee for further review. Additional comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
And the other 2 appointments that I would like to move to the Appointment Subcommittee is for Barbara LaBarbard and, sorry, Barb, and Marianne Geiza for the City Clerk and the Assistant City Clerk with a term expiration of 3/31/19.
Second.
There's a motion, a second. So these are, we have, those are, obviously, you probably don't know, but we have, the City Council has 3 appointments, the City Clerk, the Auditor, and the Principal Assessor. And so the position has been advertised, so other people are welcome to apply for this City Clerk position. Barb has submitted her letter of request to be reconsidered, which is what we are submitted to appointments for review. So if there's any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
And the last item of business is that we have our next Appointment Subcommittee meeting on March 3rd at 5 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
And this concludes.
Thank you. Ordinance, Councilor Derby.
Thank you, Mr. President. 2 pieces of housekeeping. I would like to request a 60-day extension on both the review of zoning ordinance signs and the request to consider a food truck ordinance.
Second.
Okay, motion is second for 60-day continuation for both the zoning ordinance and the food truck ordinance. Additional comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye. And
Opposed? I'm sorry. Abstain? Okay, sorry.
our next meeting is Wednesday, the 24th of February at 6 p.m. We're going to discuss both of these items in addition to talking about a mission and responsibilities of the ordinance committee.
Okay, terrific.
That concludes.
Okay. Property, Councilor Kuzinski.
No report.
Okay. Old business, pending business. We're still actually taking names. We don't have a full group of applicants yet, and I am still would like to meet with the mayor and also to get some kind of letter from him as far as what his requests are for this committee as well. And I believe we've covered all of the new business. Councilor Rist.
I neglected to say that our next Finance Committee meeting is February 24th at 5 p.m. in Room 1.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Hayes.
Councilor Rist, I was wondering if I could get a copy of your statement about transparency. I'm really taking that personally because I don't feel that this City Hall is as transparent as it could be. I mean, a case in point is the budget just being the front pages, not the full copy of the PDF available electronically to the public. And it's something I'm happy to work with the city council to bring forward. But yeah, I do kind of take that pointedly. And I was wondering if I could get a copy of your statement, please?
It wasn't directed at you, but maybe it's a guilty conscience, I don't know.
I'd like to-
No,
I don't-
sure. It's
Certainly
definitely-
can have a copy of it.
I don't
No
want this to be
problem.
the forum for this discussion, so I will entertain a
Yes.
motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.